What's the difference between a liar and a chatbot? A liar has to know the truth to hide it. A chatbot? It doesn't know the truth exists. Today, we dive into why researchers say we need to stop using the term hallucination and start calling AI what it really is, a bullcrapping machine, which I'll call BS. G'day everyone, welcome to Safe As. I'm Dr. Ben Hutchinson. Today's study is from Hicks, Humphries and Slater, titled ChatGPT is BS, published in Ethics and Information Technology. They argue that we need to fundamentally change how we talk about the errors made by AI. For several years now, when programs like ChatGPT present false information as fact, the tech industry and the public have labelled these instances as hallucinations. However, this paper argues that hallucinations is an inapt and misleading metaphor. Instead, the authors suggest we should turn to philosophy, specifically the work of Harry Frankfurt, and recognise that ChatGPT is not hallucinating, it's BSing. To understand this claim, we need to be clear about what BS means, in a technical philosophical sense, of course. Frankfurt famously argues that both liars and honest people are oriented towards the truth. The honest person wants to convey it, and the liar wants to conceal it. Crucially, lying requires an intention to deceive by asserting something the speaker believes to be false. First, let me say that I'm a big fan of agentive models, machine learning and large language models, and these authors aren't disparaging them at all. So, moving on, rather than intentionally lying, the BSer, by contrast, has no such concern. And this distinction matters. When large language models produce false information, it's not lying. It has no beliefs, no understanding, and no intention to deceive. As the authors put it, because these programs can't themselves be concerned with truth, and because they're designed to produce text that looks truthful, without any actual concern for the truth, it seems appropriate to call their outputs BS. The paper then explains why this is not just a semantic quibble. Large language models operate by estimating the statistical likelihood of the next word in a sequence based on massive quantities of training data. They're not trying to represent the world or track what is true. Their goal is to generate text that looks normal, fluent, and human-like. So there's no special failure mode when a large language model produces a falsehood. The very same process produces output that happen to be true and outputs that are completely fabricated. So when a lawyer used a large language model and received a legal brief filled with bogus judicial decisions, the AI wasn't experiencing a non-standard perceptual experience or some sort of memory lapse. It was simply doing what it always does, producing a plausible sounding string of text. The authors distinguish between two forms of this behaviour, soft and hard BS. Soft BS refers to the utterances produced with a total indifference to the truth. At a minimum, they argue, LLMs are soft BSs. It doesn't intend to convey truths, and it's indifferent to the truth value of its utterances. Even when the output sounds confident or authoritative, the aim is not accuracy, but plausibility. Hard BS is more controversial. It involves misleading the audience about the nature of the enterprise itself. The paper argues that if a large language model's design goal is to imitate human speech, then it may qualify as a hard BSer as well. In that case, it's attempting to deceive the audience. Specifically, it's trying to seem like something that has an agenda, when in many cases, it doesn't. Why does the term hallucination matter so much? The authors argue it's dangerous for several reasons. First, it anthropomorphizes the system, meaning attributing human characteristics, encouraging people to think the model perceives the world and merely misperceives it from time to time. But as they put very bluntly, these large language models don't perceive, so they surely don't misperceive. Second, the hallucination framing suggests that false outputs are exceptional glitches that can be fixed with better inputs, more data, or tighter constraints. This misunderstands the system entirely, because true and false outputs arise from the same underlying mechanism. Improving accuracy doesn't turn an LLM into a knowledge-bearing system. At best, it produces more convincing BS. As the authors stress, these models aren't designed to transmit information per se, or represent the world at all, but to provide a normal seeming response to a prompt. Next, describing errors as hallucinations allows creators and deployers to deflect blame onto the model itself. If the AI is hallucinating, then the failure sounds like an internal defect, rather than a predictable outcome of how the system was designed and marketed. The authors are careful not to replace one misleading metaphor with another. They reject alternatives like confabulation for the same reason. This language still suggests that something exceptional or human-like is happening when the model gets things wrong. In reality, nothing special is occurring at all. This matters because fluent language systematically inflates trust. Large language models generate high confidence and polished prose or writing in an authoritative tone, which encourages people to believe the AI outputs have more credibility than they deserve. This creates what the authors see as a serious epistemic risk. Epistemic risk, like the danger that we'll stop caring if something is actually true, as long as it sounds professional and confident. The paper warns that indifference to the truth is extremely dangerous, because a mindlessly frivolous attitude that accepts this growth of BS as innocuous threatens what they call an indispensable human treasure. Our shared distinction between the true and the false. When BS becomes normalized, standards of justification and trust erode, and collective decision-making suffers. Again, importantly, this isn't an argument against using large language models and AI. The authors are explicit that these systems can and are useful. The danger lies in misunderstanding what they are and treating the outputs as if they were grounded in knowledge or understanding of the world. Ultimately, the paper argues that large language models should be understood as BSs, a system designed to produce utterances that look truthful while being fundamentally unconcerned with reality. And if this topic interests you and you'd like me to cover some more of the rebuttal papers for this paper, then let me know in the comments. That's it on Safe As. Thanks everyone. Please remember to like and subscribe. And if you'd like to support the channel, then feel free to shout a coffee. Links in the show notes.